Open the oldest photo of yourself you have, the toddler one. Look at that kid. You have no idea who they are. But that kid lived an entire life, learned a language, figured out faces, fell in love with someone, probably your mother, harder than you have ever fallen in love with anyone since. And you remember none of it, not a single frame. This is childhood amnesia. In 2014, a neuroscientist in Toronto figured out why, and it had nothing to do with your mind. Try to remember your second birthday. You can't. Try to remember the first time you saw the ocean, or your grandmother's voice when you were 2, or the smell of your old crib. There is nothing there, just a flat black wall. The average age of a person's earliest memory is about 3.5 years old. Before that, silence. Psychologists call this childhood amnesia, and almost every human alive has it. It is one of the strangest, most uniform things about being a person. You spent roughly 1,277 days alive before that wall. You were not unconscious. You were not stupid. By age 2, you knew about 300 words. You recognized your own name. You could plan. You could predict. You could lie. You laughed at jokes. You had favorite people. And the brain that did all of that, your brain, the one in your skull right now, kept absolutely none of it. For a long time, people assumed this was just how memory worked. Babies are dumb. They don't form memories. End of story. But that turned out to be completely wrong. Babies form memories constantly. They have to. That is how they learn to be human. So the question stopped being, why don't kids remember? And it became something much weirder. Why does the brain delete the memories on purpose? The first person to take this seriously was Sigmund Freud. In 1899, Freud wrote about childhood amnesia, and he was honest about how strange it was. He had been listening to his adult patients try to dig up their earliest memories, and he noticed that almost none of them could go back before age 3. So Freud, being Freud, decided the memories were being repressed. He said the toddler version of you experienced something so chaotic, so sexual, so emotionally overwhelming that the adult brain had to hide it from itself, locked it behind a wall to keep you sane. This explanation hung around for almost a century. Therapists hunted for repressed toddler trauma. Parents worried about what their 2-year-old was secretly recording. And it was all wrong. The memories were not hidden. They were not buried. They had not been repressed at all. They had simply been erased. The brain was not protecting you. The brain was bulldozing. And nobody knew that yet, because nobody had thought to look at the part of the brain that was actually doing it, the hippocampus. Enter Paul Franklin. In 2014, Franklin was running a lab at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, studying memory in mice. He had noticed something nobody could explain. Adult mice remember threats. If you put an adult mouse in a small chamber and give it a tiny foot shock, the mouse will remember that chamber for weeks. Put it back in the same room, and it freezes in fear. Baby mice can also be trained this way. You put a baby mouse in the chamber, you shock it, and the next day it remembers. It freezes. But here is the part that broke the field. A few weeks later, that same mouse, now older, has forgotten. The fear is gone. The memory is gone. The chamber is just a chamber again. Adult mice keep the memory. Baby mice lose it. So Franklin and his colleague Catherine Akers asked the question nobody else had asked. What is the baby mouse brain doing that the adult brain isn't? And the answer turned out to be one thing. Their hippocampus was growing. Fast. The hippocampus, the part of your brain that stitches new memories together, is one of the only regions in the body that keeps producing brand new neurons your entire life. It is called adult neurogenesis. And in babies, this process is on overdrive. Franklin realized something that should have been obvious decades earlier. Every new neuron the hippocampus grows is a new neuron getting wired into the memory network. And every wire it adds, every connection it makes, scrambles the wires that were already there. So Franklin's team did something almost cruel. They sped neurogenesis up in adult mice, artificially, with exercise and drugs. The adults started forgetting like babies. Here is what is happening inside your hippocampus right now, and what was happening inside it when you were 2. A memory is not a thing. It is a pattern. Specifically, it is a set of neurons firing in a specific order. When you remember your 7th birthday, those exact neurons light up again, in roughly the same sequence, and your brain reads that pattern as a memory. Now imagine a fresh neuron is born into the middle of that pattern. The wires reroute, the pattern shifts, the signal scrambles. The memory is still there in some abstract sense, but the brain can no longer find it, the way you can't find a file when somebody has renamed every folder. This is called neurogenesis-induced forgetting. Franklin and Akers published it in 2014 in the journal Science. They showed that the more new neurons the hippocampus makes, the more old memories vanish. And babies make a lot. By some estimates, the toddler hippocampus generates new neurons 5 to 10 times faster than yours. So every memory a 2-year-old forms is being shredded almost as fast as it forms. The brain is laying down memories at full speed, and it is erasing them at full speed. Childhood amnesia is not a failure of memory. It is the receipt of an enormous amount of construction work. The hippocampus is being built, and the cost of building it is the memories you would have wanted to keep. Your brain in those years is a road being paved while you are still driving on it. Every new section of asphalt erases the tire tracks of the section before. So why does it stop? Why is your earliest memory at age 3 or 4 and not age 7 or 18? Because neurogenesis slows down. As the hippocampus matures, it stops producing new neurons at that frantic rate. By around age 4, the rate has dropped enough that memories can finally stick. The pattern is still being interrupted, but slower, and the new wires no longer overwrite the old ones completely. This is why your earliest stable memory probably sits between ages 3 and 5. It is the exact moment your hippocampus stopped erasing itself. There is another piece to this: language. Children who develop language earlier tend to have earlier first memories. Bauer and Larkina, in 2014, showed that the more verbal scaffolding a kid has, the more durable their memories become. Language gives a memory a coat hanger, a label, a place to live. Without it, the experience happens, but it has nothing to hold on to. So childhood amnesia is two things at once: a hippocampus literally writing over itself, and a child who does not yet have the words to anchor what they lived through. Your toddler self had the feelings, they had the experiences, they simply had no system in place to keep them. Go back to that photo, the toddler one. That kid is not a stranger because they were not real. They were extremely real. They are a stranger because their brain was a construction site. Everything they felt, everyone they loved, every fear and every comfort got laid down and paved over before any of it could become you. Childhood amnesia is not a flaw in memory. It is the price of building one. You forgot your first 3 years for the same reason a house has no memory of the empty lot it was built on. The lot had to go. The lot was the cost. And the strange, beautiful thing is that toddlers still made you. They learned every word you speak. They wired the face you make when you are surprised. They are not gone. They are the foundation. You just can't see them anymore because you are standing on them.